So next on stage, I'd love to introduce Brandon. Brandon Thompson joined EML back in June as our Group Chief Commercial Officer. Brandon's role, apart from keeping people like myself in line, is to focus on revenue and growth opportunities across the globe. Brandon's also responsible for our global group P&L. Brandon's background, similar to some of us, is many, many years in prepaid. Lastly, the last 10 with Netspend Thesis in the States, who are one of the world's largest in terms of GPR programs. So Brandon joins us to share his knowledge in regards to general purpose, reloadable programs in Australia. And welcome to the stage, Brandon.
So, number 3 of the Third Americans, awesome, right? Get it out of the way, the trifecta of awesomes right there. I first want to thank everybody. This has been the presenters, the presentations, the EML team. I mean, it really has been great. It feels really good to be a part of a team this passionate and working with customers this passionate. Somewhat unique in a lot of industries, so very much appreciate it. So I have the pleasure of introducing the CEO of PointsBet, Sam Swanell, our newest partner in gaming and our newest market, which is the US. So that announcement came out yesterday in New Jersey initially, but really great stuff. I've been to the office in Kansas City multiple times to meet with Sam's team and Nick and Johnny, and everyone there has been great to work with. I'm going to chalk that up to Sam creating a great culture with great people. A little bit on Sam's background. It was interesting. Bringing a unique set of skills to the gaming industry, like Liam Neeson and Taken, a unique set of skills. But so Sam worked at Macquarie Bank, and then also is a day job, and on the weekends and the evenings worked with a bookmaker. So he was uniquely positioned as the industry here started to flourish, of bringing both a corporate hat and a very knowledgeable insider industry hat to the game. So that continued to evolve into TomWaterhouse.com, and then wanted to, after a time there, to create his own thing with his partners, kind of getting it's a familiar concept here at EML of getting the band back together. A lot of us have worked together in the past, and I think Sam's doing that again. So with his group, which is great to see. So we're excited about the partnership, and Sam can come on up and give some background on what it looks like moving forward.
Thanks very much. I'm going to talk a lot about America and the opportunity for EML in America, and in doing so, obviously the opportunity for PointsBet as well. PointsBet, unlike your sports bets or your Ladbrokes or your Bet365s, you may not have heard a lot about in Australia, and that's quite deliberate, because PointsBet was established to build capability in Australia, but to capitalise on the American market. You might find it hard to believe, because it's been online bookmaking and betting has been around in Australia for so long, but it's only become effectively legalised in America in May this year following a Supreme Court case. So companies all around the globe, UK, Australians, where there's advanced betting markets, I suppose, are now looking for market access in America. And the difference between America and somewhere like Australian jurisdiction is you can't just go and start up a business in America. You can't just walk in and say, I'd like to apply for a betting license to run a bookmaker. You have to partner with a land-based casino or a racetrack. So there's a finite number of licenses that are able to be obtained, and getting access to that market is a matter of doing a deal with as I said, a bricks and mortar entity, a casino or a racetrack in various states of America. The other thing about America is that each state makes this decision. So it's not one national market, it's a state-by-state decision. So New Jersey can decide to legalise sports betting, Texas may decide not to legalise sports betting. So each state is a jurisdiction, which brings with it some challenges and some technology complexities. PointsBet, really, we started in March 2017, but I really think we've sort of just started this financial year. Even though we're relatively small in the Australian market, Melbourne Cup Day obviously just passed. we processed 134,000 bets, which compared to some of our bigger competitors is still relatively small. Unlike some of our competitors, our systems didn't go down, which was a great credit. Nothing worse for a punter than not being able to get a bet on Melbourne Cup Day, and our call centre lit up with clients of PointsBet and Ladbrokes and other places. I think they rang us in error, but in the end we were trying to get them to open an account, obviously. So that was a great milestone for the business to get through Melbourne Cup Day, prove our technology. Our technology is all proprietary. Most bookmakers, they license a betting platform from a third party. That's an easy way to get to market quickly, easy way to get all the features quickly, but it's not the future as we see it in terms of building long-term value, because like a lot of industries, it's about innovation, being able to innovate with new products, better user experience, more scalable technology, and we own all our proprietary technology. So I'll click over. We launched in March 2017, as I said. We had very minimal investment in the business up until this financial year. The business from the very beginning was about America. We wanted to build the capability in Australia. Australia is a very advanced betting market. It doesn't surprise anyone in the room that Australians are mad punters. It's just the reality of the situation. And we've had a mature market here for some time. So if you want to hire good people who are experienced in the sector, who have dealt with the technology challenges, the trading challenges, the digital marketing challenges, Australia is a very good source of resources. We wanted to build that capability in Australia, but we didn't want to make Australia the focus of our business, because Australia, truthfully, is a tough market. It's taxed very highly. Competitors have been around for 20 years. Very, very tough regulatory environment. So we wanted to build the capability here, and we wanted to take it to America. Now, as I said, to get into America, you have to partner with someone. And PointsBet took part in a process with a racetrack that was running what they call an RFP, and 20 of the biggest bookmakers in the world took part in that RFP. And the consultants that were running that process, there was a consultant from the UK and a consultant from America. They basically called us up at the start of the process and said, "You guys are wasting your time. You're up against the biggest bookmakers in the world. You've got 45 staff in a little office in Melbourne. You've barely got any money in the bank. How you're not going to win this process." I remember we worked through Easter. We prepared a 250-page RFP response. We submitted it. Consultants came back to us and said, that was pretty good, actually. You've made the shortlist. So we went to New York. We presented in person. At the end of the presentation, the consultants again said, "You know what? That was pretty impressive. You might be early stage, you might be relatively small, but we can see that you guys know what you're talking about, and you're in with a chance here to win this process." In the end, they handed out 2 licenses to the state of New Jersey. Now I'll talk more about the American market. And PointsBet received one of those licenses. And PointsBet, as I said at the time, was 45 staff, maybe a couple of $1 million in the bank. The other company that won the other license is a company called Paddy Power Betfair, one of the biggest bookmakers in the world. So it was us and Paddy Power and a lot of others that missed out, which was great. One thing about PointsBet is we do traditional fixed odds betting. Everyone's used to that. But we also do a product that has been in the UK, but a version of what's called spread betting. And basically, the technology works like this. If you have a bet, it doesn't matter if your football team wins by 1 point or 20 points, you win that bet. You don't get paid anymore just because they thrash the other team. With PointsBet, and what we're calling points betting, every point you win by is a multiplier of your stake. So if you put $10 down and you win by 20 points, you win 200. Okay? If you win by 5 points, you win 50. If you lose by 5 points, you lose 50. If you lose by 10 points, you lose 100. So it's like people bet for the engagement and the excitement. So if you're watching an AFL match and every goal is $60 for you because you've got $10 a point, and every goal against you is $60 against you, the engagement and the excitement you get from that type of betting is far more, far stronger than a traditional bet. If it's halfway through the third quarter and Collingwood's up by 50 points, your bet's done. There's no more engagement in that match because you've already won. But in this instance, you're like, I want to kick more goals because I want to win another $60. So the engagement and the excitement. So that's a product that we're taking to the American market. No one else is doing it in America. That's proprietary technology, proprietary quants and pricing behind it. Just going back to the Australian market, the Australian market, since we launched, you couldn't have had more headwinds for a company. I knew some of these things were coming, but we didn't realise just how tough the Australian market was going to be since March 2017 when we launched. There's been new taxes, there's been lots of advertising restrictions. Obviously, as a growing bookmaker, we need to advertise to gain clients. And the easiest way to gain clients from a media perspective is to advertise during sporting events because they're your target market. You can't advertise during sporting events anymore because before a certain time, because obviously children are watching sporting events, etc., and they don't want to be inundated with TV commercials. The way to get people to open an account was to say, hey, you deposit $50, we'll give you a matching $50 bonus bet, give us a try. You can't do that anymore. You can't advertise inducements. So to really try and grow a bookmaking business in Australia is very difficult now, and so the incumbents have a big head start. There's a thing called minimum bet rule. You now have to bet professional punters to lose a certain amount. So that's fine. Professional punters, you take their bet, you use their intelligence to shape your market. It's a trading tool. But now you have to lay every professional punter to win a minimum amount. What that means is for a big bookmaker, that's a small portion of their business. If that costs them $1 million a year to losing to professional punters, hey, that's not the end of the world. But to a bookmaker starting up, that's just a fixed cost going straight out the door because the first 200 clients you sign up as a bookmaker are the 200 professional clients in Australia coming to take money off you. Credit ban. So, for big clients, they used to like betting on credit. They don't want to have to put $50,000 in an account and pay for it up front. They want to bet on a Saturday. If they win, we pay them. If they lose, they pay us. Credit got banned in February this year. So another big hit. So every headwind you could have in Australia, we've launched through basically. So it just made that task of getting started that little bit harder. Good news, I suppose, for everyone is that gambling isn't actually growing in Australia. The latest statistics just came out on October 3. Queensland government does the most comprehensive study, and gambling is flat in Australia. Poker machines are flat, casinos are down. Racing and sports betting, good for us, is the area that's growing, and not surprisingly because of obviously mobile technology and the like. So we compete in a $4.4 billion revenue market. It's about, I think it's about a 15th the size of say, pokies and things like that. But in particular, the online area. So the TAB has a monopoly effectively on offline. They're the only ones with shops that you can go into. Some of their parts of their business, in particular their pari-mutuel betting, are in severe decline. So online growth for racing and sports is really strong. So in some ways, the macro environment, we've been through a terrible 18 months in Australia, but the macro is looking up, and further sort of strengthening that macro outlook is that there's less competitors because this tough environment has claimed quite a few bookmakers who have exited the market, or there's been some consolidation. In Australia, we don't have online in-play betting. So what I mean by that is once a sporting event starts, if you want to have a bet on that, you have to ring up your bookmaker. No modern consumer is ringing up to place a bet. By the time they get through and the score's changed and they don't want to have the bet anymore, it has to be instant. If you're seeing something during a football match that you find interesting and you want to back your judgment on the outcome of that, you need to be able to do it instantly. In Australia, we can't do it. In the UK, they do it, and in America, where we're going into, they do it. 80% of bets in the UK are placed after an event starts. 20% are placed before event starts. So that gives you an understanding of how big the in-play market could be. We're launching this product in America because we need it to go live in America. The good news is, I suppose, from a macro perspective in Australia is the government is trying to make sure that consumers in Australia are protected, responsible gambling framework, tax, all their turnover obviously is taxed and the money goes to the government. So they don't want offshore bookmakers targeting Australian consumers. At the moment, they're giving an incentive for the Australian punter to bet with an offshore bookmaker because that's where they can get their online in-play action. So at the moment, the government's got a leakage of turnover, taxes, responsible gambling framework, sports integrity. So that's another big one. We have agreements with all the racing and sporting body. Every bet we take, the AFL can see, the NRL can see, Australian Tennis Open can see, etc. Obviously, if there's big illegal Indian bookmakers bribing cricketers, your Hansi Cronjes affairs, etc., in years gone past, that's a challenge to sports integrity. So governments do not want Australian punters betting with illegal operators. They want them betting with legal licensed operators. To ensure that happens, they need to bring this in Australia, because otherwise they're providing an incentive for the punter to bet offshore. So there's talk now of this coming in. That would be a positive macro for the Australian business. But the US business in particular, as I said from the start, is what's exciting for PointsBet and what's exciting for EML. So I said just before that the Australian racing and sports betting business is 4.4 billion revenue. The USA has a population of 13 times the size of Australia. Now, it's not going to be a $50 billion market, but what could it be? Some of the estimates range from sort of 9 to 20. I think that it'll be at least those sorts of levels. It'll take time. The main determinant of where the market ends up and how big it goes is basically how optimised the operating conditions are. And I've just given 3 examples here. In Nevada, where Las Vegas is seen as this betting mecca, the punting oasis basically. They only do $250 million of revenue. So Australia does 4.4 billion. They do $250 million of revenue. It's only a small population of 3 million, but they don't have digital sign-up. And what I mean by that is to open a betting account, you have to walk into a physical casino to open an account, and then you can go home and if you're on your couch watching the sport or whatnot. So it's not optimised to maximise the opportunity. And again, if I'm a consumer and I can bet with an offshore operator without having to walk into the casino, well, I'll just bet with the offshore operator. There's no reason for me to be incentivised to sign with the legal operator. New Jersey is the state that was fighting for its rights to legalise sports betting in America. They won the court case that opened up this market in America. So New Jersey now has legalised sports betting, has a population of 9 million. They do have digital sign-up. So it's just like Australia. You can sign up online, you can deposit online, etc. And it's estimated that it will be a $500 million market. PointsBet goes live in New Jersey in 2 weeks. So that's a really big occurrence for us, which I'll talk about, and EML are a key part of that. The market's only been live for a couple of months. There's only been 8 or 9 sites licensed that are live. They did 24 million revenue in September 18. So on most measures, the $500 million estimate's probably, in a mature, steady state market, is probably looking a little bit conservative, and there's a potential to go beyond. Then you've got a state like Mississippi, population of 3 million again. Nevada's doing 250 from 3 million, obviously a lot more tourists, etc. Mississippi's got a stack of casinos, but there's no mobile betting at all. So you have to go into the casino to bet, and thus that market's not going to amount to much until they bring in mobile. Again, if you think about why the states of America are legalising sports betting, they're doing it because it's happening anyway. Consumers, sports fans are betting on their phones just like they do here, but they're doing it with illegal operators. So no jobs are being created, there's no player protection, there's no tax being collected, there's no marketing being spent in the market. So if that's the driver and the rationale as to why states legalise sports betting, well, ultimately they end up with a New Jersey model, which is mobile, and is actually going to do the job of bringing that offshore illegal turnover onshore. So while some states like Mississippi might start off with bricks and mortar only, I'm pretty sure that in time they end up with the mobile offering. And here's some states estimates. I said New Jersey 502 million, New York 1.17. So New York hasn't passed 1.17 billion. New York hasn't passed its legislation yet, but PointsBet has a deal in New York. So when New York passes its legislation, which is expected, the legislature comes back in January, they will pass the legislation. New York has a seat at the table in that, PointsBet has a seat at the table in that $1.17 billion market. As I said, there's a finite number of licenses, not just anyone can go in and start being a bookmaker in these licenses. So the deal that we got in New Jersey, it has a sister deal in New York, and again, it was that same RFP process that we took part in that gave us that activity. A couple of the other big states that are likely to come online soon, Michigan, Illinois. So you can sort of see the numbers, and if there was 10 competitors, you're talking 67 million. On average per competitor for Illinois. It's a great opportunity. The big players, you're competing with some of the biggest players in the world. So MGM and Caesars, these big casino companies, they're going to be tough competitors, but I suppose the difference with them is they have these massive casino businesses, these entertainment businesses. How important to them is sports betting in New Jersey? That's where I suppose we would hope to have an advantage. And while sports betting was illegal in America, two companies launched what is basically fantasy sports businesses. And DraftKings and FanDuel were the big names in fantasy. It was almost like quasi-sports betting. It was a way to get around the fact that there was no sports betting. So these companies got quite large. They'll be some of the tougher competitors that we need to outperform in those markets to succeed. So fair to say that when we were announced as winning this opportunity in New Jersey and New York when it legislates, that the industry was reasonably shocked. As I said, we had 45 staff, not much money in the bank, didn't have an office in America, we didn't have a bank account in America, didn't have any staff in America. So how did we do it? Look, it was the aim of the business from the start. From the very first capital raise I did, we had this dotted line going across to America. It was a little bit crazy because sports betting wasn't legalised in America at that time, but we were confident that the economic forces, and we weren't sure of the route of how it would get to being legalised, but because of all those things I've spoken about, that it was happening anyway, and the ability to tax it and regulate it, etc., we were confident it would happen. Believe it or not, NBA basketball is the biggest betting sport in Australia, bigger than AFL, bigger than NRL. So Australian bookmakers are already specialised in American sports. Our traders, our quants guys, etc. We live and breathe. Most 22-year-old males know more about basketball than they do AFL or NRL these days. That's just the way it is. It's on in the morning. Fox TV with games televised. If people can watch it, they get engaged in it. We have a track record of success. The guys involved in the business, we have a track record of success. We've got proprietary technology. We have the point of difference product in the points betting that I spoke about. But the main reason we got the gig and we got the opportunity through this RFP processes was this part, the commitment. The fact that from day one, this is why we had set up. We made it very clear that this is what we were focused on. No one in the industry was going to give more commitment to New Jersey or New York than PointsBet, because for us, that's what it's about. Australia is a proof of concept. We'll continue to sort of organically grow Australia, but when we raise $50 or $100 million, it's going into that market. That's where we're investing, and we were able to demonstrate that. I was the one that attended every meeting. I'd been going back and forth from America from middle of 2017 before the court case was even decided. I'd built up the relationship. So by the time we got to this point, that commitment had been demonstrated. And Mr. Gorell, who provided that quote there, who owns these racetracks, he's a billionaire property developer who owns a lot of commercial property in New York. Okay, I'm going to move quickly. Suffice to say that, as I said, we didn't have a bank account, we didn't have any staff, we didn't have an office. We signed that deal on July 20, and we go live at the end of this month. So to accomplish that in such a highly regulated market, challenging technology, we had to build that online in-play product that I said is not available in Australia, but will be offered in America. A huge achievement. You might not know Allen Iverson, but everyone in America does. He's an 11-time NBA All-Star. We've also signed Darrelle Revis, who's an NFL star, and they're very big in the New York, New Jersey area. So for us to square those guys away already as marketing partners, again, while still trying to get live, add staff, etc., has been a great achievement. I won't talk about technology anymore other than to say that we own our technology, we've built it, all front end, all back end, all ours. So the story with EML and wagering companies like ours is reasonably well known through the relationships they've had with Ladbrokes and the like. Obviously, when punters win, that's a happy time for them, and they want to spend it and celebrate and whatever they want to do with it, whether it's to buy beers on Saturday night, whether it's to buy a gift for their partner to show that, hey, I do win on the punt and here's a gift for it. In the old days, obviously, you'd submit your withdrawal, it wouldn't get processed till Monday, it'd be an EFT transfer, you get the money Tuesday. Now, they can have their win on the last race at Flemington and they can spend that money straight away. And that will be exactly the same in America. The benefits of that in terms of the branding on the card, etc. But the big thing with America is regards to getting money onto your card. So in America, because the law has just changed and it's a state by state, it's not a national law, 50% of credit card deposits into a betting account in New Jersey fail. So nothing more frustrating to a punter who's opened his account with PointsBet or whoever it may well be. He's got his credit card, he wants to put $50 in, and it fails. So by having EML in the middle of that transaction and basically them loading up their EML card, which is then used for betting and or whatever they see fit for, we go from having 50% success rates to 100% success rates. In a developing market like New Jersey, where this is all brand new, that is a huge advantage, huge advantage. So we will be the first bookmaker to have an EML card. We go live at the end of the month, so EML goes live at the end of the month with us, and it's a key part of our strategy, that the ability to get money into the accounts. And for them, you know, something like this, we've had these cards in Australia for some time, where if you back a winner, you can use your card and spend it or whatever. That doesn't exist in America. This will be a massive game changer. And the other advantage, which is often touched on for the benefits of EML, is that while it gives them the ability to spend that money if they want to, it's still close enough that if they do want to go back and have a bet again, it's close to, it's right there for them to do that seamlessly. Whereas obviously if the money goes into their bank account, it's that one step removed from them being able to use it for their betting again. That's the 43% respend rate that I just spoke about, that once money comes off the card, 43% of it will go back on, which obviously as the bookmaker, that's good. The client controls what they want to do. Really big thing in the New Jersey market as well is, and Australia for that matter, is the ability for cash deposits. So not everyone wants to have transactions through their bank accounts and their statements into their betting activities. The cash economy is still pretty strong. It's pretty strong in New Jersey. So the ability to get to a point where we can deposit onto the card via cash, again, we think that will give us a great advantage in the New Jersey market. Just wrapping up, so this has sort of been PointsBet's progress. We launched with our point of difference points betting product or spread betting product in March. Then we launched fixed odds racing, because we had to build all these things ourselves in September 2017. Then we launched fixed odds sport in March 2018. The Supreme Court ruled in May 2018. Bang, we got a deal in July 2018. A few months later, we're going live in America in November 2018. And when I sat down with the team after we got the deal, we had 43 staff, or maybe a bit more, 48 staff. We've now got 110 staff, on our way to 150 staff. We raised $24 million from our investing shareholders via a converting note. And basically our strategy for America is we back ourselves in terms of our technology, our marketing capability, our trading capability, our ability to hold on to clients, know what works in this sector. We'll outperform any of our competitors in America on that front. The question we get asked is, how do you compete with the big boys? They're going to come in and spend lots of money on marketing. They're really going to have a crack. Well, we are too. So it's been clear from the start that we would keep things very conservative in the Australian market as our proof of concept. But as soon as we got a start in America, we would be raising sufficient capital so that from a marketing perspective, we can compete and go hard. And so PointsBet is now progressing to a position where for up until June 30, 2018, we'd spent a total of $10 million building the business and getting started in Australia. In the 18 months after that, we will probably spend circa $120 million exploring the US market, and in particular on marketing. The size of the US market for EML and PointsBet can't be underestimated. There's a reason why their cards have been popular and successful in the Australian market. Those reasons are only stronger in the American market because of the fact that it's brand new and that there's these issues with depositing. So I think PointsBet's really well placed. We'll get lots of states. We've got lots of other states lined up where we'll be going live through 2019. And I certainly think EML is very well placed to take advantage of that opportunity as well. Thank you.